I found a very interesting question in the comment section. Now that stocks were plummeted globally by the coronavirus crisis, would it have any effect on Toronto real estate? If you are watching my video for the first time, I share my opinions and news on Toronto real estate every single week. Make sure you subscribe to my channel so you stay on top of the market. Comments below if you have any questions. If I see a good question, I will make a video for it. Before we talk about the virus, let me share a story with you. Deep in the cold winter in 2007, I was still working on my computer engineering job. Every day over lunch, we talked about cars, stocks, and real estate. My friend flipped the newspaper to the real estate section. Then he started shaking his head and mumbling, "These people are crazy. The prices are too high. How can people afford to buy? It is a bubble. The market is going to crash." Yeah, I know, I agree. Other people started to join into the conversation. I pretended to be busy eating and kept quiet because I was one of those crazy people. I bought a 3,400 square feet pre-construction house in Richmond Hill for $599,000, and I didn't want to be flooded with negative advice. So a year went by. In 2008, the subprime mortgage crisis hits the world. It is the worst economic disaster since the Great Depression of 1929. I drove by streets with newly built houses with no buyers. You see, when prices were high, people wanted to wait. When prices were low, even more people wanted to wait. I made this mistake too because I could have bought during the low. But I was worried and I waited. The Toronto housing market was proven to be solid and the decline didn't last long. Prices started to increase steadily since 2010. When my friends were psychologically ready to buy, a house similar to mine was already $900,000. You see how ironic this is? They were financially ready to buy when it was $599,000, but they were not psychologically ready until it is $900,000. So what I learned over the year is this: if I have the funds ready to invest, I would invest into a solid market for long term. That's how I average out on the ups and downs. And as long as the rental income can sustain the investment, the short-term price adjustments are pretty much irrelevant. Will the coronavirus crisis be a repeat of financial crisis in 2008? The honest answer is, I don't know. But if you promise me to take out all the emotions for now, all the fear, panic, and confusion, I can share some data and facts with you so you can come to your own objective conclusion. Let's start with the January data on new home sales. There were 2,106 units of new homes purchased in just the first month of the year. The ratio of high-rise to low-rise is around 50-50. The January total was up 65% from the previous year and 14% above the 10-year average. On resale homes, the Toronto Real Estate Board is predicting a 10% increase in price this year. Overall, a very strong demand and confidence at the start of the year. Now, what's the impact of the coronavirus? Maybe there's not much impact at all. Maybe there will be a price decline. But for how much? And for how long? Let me share a special report with you based on the research by the Real Estate Investment Network. The report analyzes the impact from three angles. Number one, economy and GDP. The report uses the SARS outbreak in 2003 as a reference. Although the coronavirus is spreading faster compared to SARS, and there are 5 times more cases, the death rate is significantly lower. The death rate was 9.6% for SARS and is 1% for coronavirus. The report has a very interesting point on the spread of information. Back in 2003, we were still relying on newspaper, cable news, and flip phones. Now in 2020, it is all about smartphones, internet, and social media. News travels from one end of the world to another instantly, and there's so much fake news that accelerate fear, panic, and wild speculations. In 2003, the aggregate impact of SARS to Canada's economy was estimated to just over 0.1% of the GDP. So, if the coronavirus were to have a similar impact as SARS, the Canadian economy would have an estimated hit of just over 0.1% on the level of GDP by mid-2020. With the current market conditions and based on the SARS experience, the report predicts that the impact of coronavirus on Canadian real estate to be modest and temporary at most. Number 2. Immigration. We have talked about immigration a few times, and we know that it is the biggest driving force for the Toronto real estate market. The report actually thinks that when the outbreak is contained and when the dust is settled, there will be an increase in demand for Chinese migration to Canada. This could then increase demand for both rentals and sales, providing a further lift to the market down the road. In fact, this agrees with what I'm seeing right now. Many of my friends bring their kids here in Toronto from Hong Kong for a temporary relief of the situation because schools are suspended in Hong Kong. While they are here, they purchase properties and start to seriously plan for moving back to Toronto permanently. Number 3. Foreign capital. Prior to SARS, Chinese investments in international properties totaled less than $5 billion. After the outbreak, this figure dramatically increased to a staggering $120 billion, which is a 24 times increase. Given this historical perspective, post-corona Chinese capital directed to international property investment may increase again. As usual, Toronto is a very popular investment market for Chinese, and the popularity may increase even further because of our stability. These data points are not intended to underestimate the current situation. You should be taking every precaution to protect yourself and your family. But as an investor, it is important for you to stay objective and stick to the facts.